Should I speak in English? Is that okay with everyone? I can't, I don't know Telugu. So. It's good to see a lot of friends, a lot of old friends in Namakan. Thanks for the invite. I'm here not just as an individual, not as a faculty member of University of Hyderabad, but I'm here as part of the struggle that has been going on in HCU. I will not try to represent the entire struggle because I can't. So some of what I say will be definitely coming from my personal background and my personal experience, but I'll try to talk mostly about the struggle and try to impress upon the point that where the point where HCU and JNU and Gujarat and other such places, in my opinion, come together. In today's times. So what is basically happening is, I hope that most of us here sort of know some details of what really happened in HCU. In case we don't, I can just give you a very, because I don't have much time, I'll give you a very brief outline of what really happened. So basically there was a screening of Muzaffarnagar Baki Hai, the documentary, which I think was screened here as well, right? Was it screened in Namakan? Yeah. So ASA, Ambedkar Students Association students, they had organized the screening of Muzaffarnagar Baki Hai in HCU in around August or July 2015, which was kind of a protest screening because a few days before that the same screening was disrupted in Delhi by ABVP students and RSS goons. So this was a protest screening, and then there were some remarks that were made by a certain ABVP activist who is also a student in HCU, describing the HCU activists as hooligans and gundas and so on, which sort of, for most of us who are not from that kind of a marginalized background, these are just usual curse words that we use in our day-to-day rhetoric, in the day-to-day conversation, so it may not sound very bad or very violent, but for someone who is coming from that kind of a community, whose main existence and whose main political act throughout the life has been to refute such kind of claims and to establish their identity, establish their self-respect, as opposed to these kinds of brandings, it's a very it is a very violent attack on their existence, on their ideas. So therefore there was an altercation that happened, and that led to the entire that opened up the entire episode, and after which, because of interference because of sustained pressure and constant intimidation by the ruling political party, Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP ministers, all the way up to Smriti Irani, who is the MHRD minister. These 5 ASA students, including Rohit Vemula, were suspended, and it was not just a suspension, and that's where also sort of it's important to understand that we've always maintained that this is not just a removal suspension. This is in fact a social boycott, because if you look at the suspension order, it clearly says that they are not allowed in any kind of public space, they are not allowed in a university building, they are not allowed in I think the only, if I'm not, and in fact, I think I saw our registrar of our university in the audience, so sir, please correct me if I am wrong about anything. We'll not be like apparas, we'll take your comments if there are disagreements. But basically, so what happened was, they were prevented from access to all these social spaces, and they were asked to not participate in any kind of political activities in the campus and all that. So what then they did was, therefore, because they're not allowed in their hostels, and people like Rohit Vemula, who were not given their pending scholarships which was pending for 7 months in the case of Rohit, they cannot obviously afford accommodation outside. It's not a question of affordability also, it's a question of insult, it's a question of dignity and so on. So what they decided was that they would leave the hostel, and they would just like in villages you have the Dalit Wara or the Gari Wara, and because this symbolizes this kind of social boycott in an academic space, so they put up a tent. They put up a sort of temporary shelter using very symbolically the sort of placards which talked about Ambedkar, Phule, and these kinds of people, and they termed it was actually Rohit's coinage. He is the one who called this place Veliwara, and that's where they stayed for a month. when all these activities were happening, when people were organizing meetings, people were trying to request the so-called vice chancellor to come and talk to the students and understand what they're trying to say, etc. And all of that was completely ignored, and all of that was met with a complete stonewall. And then after that, we all know what happened on 17 January night, 18 January early morning. So, and then after that, I think, we know what has been happening with the struggle and so on. So I'll not go into too much detail about it. Why I think it's important that we talk about HCU, JNU, Gujarat, Muzaffarnagar in the same breath is because, and this is one of the understandings that we got when some of us were traveling around several districts in Telangana about the struggle, and we were talking to people. Particularly when you go to places like Aramcheru or you go to places like Chunduru, the main, the feel that you get, what people are saying essentially, is that we can understand that Dalits or Adivasis in Bastar or someone in, Northeast or, people in Kashmir, we can understand that, there it's bullets and there people are getting killed every day, like hundreds of Rohits are getting killed every day in Bastar, every day in Kashmir, every day in Northeast, everywhere across the country. Which is what happened in Gujarat also. But and then we know what kind of struggle it took. For instance, in the case of Karancheru massacre or Chunduru massacre, and then we saw how quote unquote justice was delivered, where they say, where our courts say that no one killed the Dalits. I mean, so from that kind of a perspective, these people were asking us that we understand all that. We understand that because we are in the districts, because we are in the villages, because we are in the forests, we understand that this is a state machinery which is, whose main existence is dependent on the murder of people belonging to Dalit, Bahujan, working class, Adivasi, religious minorities. But what we don't understand is how can a similar kind of execution be carried out in a so-called central university in the presence of people who call themselves academicians, in the presence of, or in the middle of a city, a mega city, in which is kind of which is advertised as sort of one of the major centers of a wannabe superpower country. With all the media attention, in the middle of all the activist attention, in the middle of all the legal attention, how can this kind of an execution happen? And if we do not get justice in the case of Rohit Vemula, then what hope do we have to get justice in any of the other cases where so many Rohits are getting killed every day, every night, every moment? So that is the main, that is the main anxiety, that is the main anger that people have, and that's where I think, we need to understand, we need to juxtapose Gujarat with HCU. I'm not equating them at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that it's not surprising what happened in Gujarat. It's not surprising what happened to Rohit, because essentially we live in a fascist society. We live in a Brahminical society, and the only kind of fascism that exists, in my opinion, in this country is Brahminical fascism. So, it's not surprising whatever is happening, but what is important to note in today's times, and I can't go into the details because there's not much time, but for various political, social, economic reasons, what is happening in today's times is that this kind of violence is finally leaving the usual, theater of the forests or the valleys or the Dalit Waras across our villages, and it is now coming and staring us at the face in our central esteemed institutions. So, and therefore many of us who earlier were just, basically peddling words of solidarity for these different struggles, for many of us now, the struggle is actually happening in our own backyard. And for the first time, perhaps, at least in our generation, I'm not talking about the 70s generation, I'm not talking about people who passed through the phase of emergency and so on. I'm talking about our generation. For our generation, I think this is for the first time that the struggle is staring at us right at our eyes in our own backyards, and it involves us. And therefore, it is extremely important for us to scrutinize ourselves, to find out our role in this entire thing. So, in this entire episode of violence, in this entire paradigm of violence on which our society is based historically. So this is not just a struggle against Appara, this is not just a struggle against the HCU administration, this is not just a struggle against the registrar of the Central University of Hyderabad. This is a struggle against all of us. This is a struggle against myself also, like as a faculty, as someone coming from the privileged sections of this society. Our role in these institutions, in perpetrating the kind of institutional violence that that we are seeing in, manifest in the case of Rohit Vemula, we all are responsible for it as part of, and I can say this, I don't say this generally in meetings on the streets, but given that I know the kind of social economic background from which, Lamakan friends, people like me, where we come from, we are all responsible for this. And this is the time, because we are all faced with fascism, this is the time that we take a stand. And a lot of times it will be a stand against ourselves. And there, that's the real test. And not surprisingly, in my opinion, not just the University of Hyderabad administration, but in fact, the majority of the University of Hyderabad teaching community has failed that test, and for good reasons. Like, I'll just say one more thing, because Rama is here, and then I'll stop. So often during the movement, we are faced with this, we are asked this question, this comparison between JNU and HCU, what's happening in JNU. When Rama and all were attacked by the right-wing forces, we saw how the majority of the teachers, as bloc in JNU, they came out into the streets in support of the students and in support of democratic rights of the students to protest or raise slogans or whatever. So we are constantly being asked, why does the struggle for Rohit Vemula not have that kind of a support from the teachers in HCU? Why is it a polarized teaching community in HCU? And I think first, the main problem with this question is as if there are only 2 universities in this country. But keeping that aside, what I generally have been telling people is that it's not surprising, because it's an anti-caste struggle. And if the majority of our teachers actually came in support of a struggle which is essentially a struggle for annihilation of caste, given the fact that the caste background and therefore the social background and a lot of times the socio-economic background of our teaching community, we all know how warped it is, we all know how reservations or how this kind of, the representations are completely diverted or subverted in these kinds of recruitments, etc. We know where our teachers come from. So given their social location, it is not surprising.
I think I must thank you at this stage. I'm really sorry for interrupting you. Because Rana is waiting, and I think this event is more focused on her.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
Can you conclude? No, so basically it is not surprising that the teaching community in HCU would be polarized, and if the entire teaching community actually came in support of the movement, then I would have thought that it is not a proper anti-caste movement. So I'll stop with that, but my appeal is that we should all question our own social locations and our role in this kind of institutional murder of people like Rohit Vemula. Jai Bhim, Lal Singh. Thank you.